has your character, Nakia, evolved since the first film?
In this film, we meet a Nakia that has grown. She's matured. A lot of life has happened between the now and the last time we saw her. Her priorities have shifted and sharpened. And the one thing that is still the same is she's still the one you want to call in an hour of need.
How do you relate to Nakia personally, and how has that changed since the first film?
One thing I love about Nakia is how principled she is. She is someone who shows up for her people, but she stands up for herself. And I love that tension, you know. Sometimes those things can be at odds with each other. But Nakia somehow is able to do both, uh, be true to herself and also show up in the way that she's needed by her community. I relate to that. I aspire to that, to be very honest. Um, but I also, another thing I aspire to is her emotional intelligence, which seems very advanced. She seems to have a spiritual access that is, yeah, is goals.
What was it like to reunite with your fellow cast and crew from Black Panther?
Reuniting with the cast and crew of Black Panther was uh, a complex emotional experience. We were coming together after the loss of Chadwick Boseman, and that had left a very big void for us in this Black Panther world, in our personal lives, but also in this Black Panther world. So coming together to make this second film, there was a sadness. There was definitely grief in general, but also an eagerness on my part. Because if anyone would understand what I was going through, it would be the people who made the first Black Panther. So getting back together was actually quite a healing process. We had each other, we leaned on each other, we comforted each other, we kept his memory alive together.
How has T'Challa's opening up of the Wakanda affected its people?
T'Challa's opening up of Wakanda has been a lot. It was Nakia's idea, and definitely something that she encouraged him to do, something that she believed in, something that he believed in. But of course, it came with a whole lot of baggage. I mean, you got wars from the Avengers, the Infinity Wars, and whatnot. You've got people trying to take advantage, trying to find ways to exploit Wakanda, and so Wakanda has a lot to do to protect itself. So it hasn't been smooth sailing. Let's say that much.
What do you think of Namor's point of view in the film?
Well, Namor's point of view is what is Namor's point of view? Namor's point of view is is very similar to what Wakanda's point of view was in the first Black Panther, where there was a debate on whether to uh, keep the sovereignty of the nation by not letting anybody else in. And Talokan is experiencing this, where their borders, their privacy is being is being threatened, and Namor wants to protect his people who have in the past experienced their lands taken away from them. And so his point of view is to wage war on on the people who are threatening before they have a chance to do it. That obviously is a valid tactic, a complicated one, and one that is extremely risky and destructive. But we cannot deny that it is a valid one.
Let's talk about the underwater portion in the underwater scenes. When you read the script and saw the scenes, underwater scenes, what was your reaction and how did you prepare? Describe that process of the filmmaking challenges.
When I read the underwater scenes of this movie, I was just marveled by it. I've never worked underwater. And this was not just like swimming through a pool. This was like full blown worlds with people talking underwater. I mean, I couldn't even imagine how we were going to shoot that. I know there's all sorts of movie magic, but the way things move underwater is so different from the way things move in with air. So I couldn't even fathom how we were going to do all that performative work underwater and the skills it would take to work in water were skills I didn't possess at the beginning of this journey. So as I was reading, of course, what you're seeing is all the work you need to do, all the things you don't know now that you're gonna have to know by the time they say action. And I was very, very fascinated to hear how we would execute it. Yeah.
How does the film celebrate female empowerment and why is that so important for the next generation?
Well, this film organically celebrates female empowerment. In the first Black Panther, we established a world where men and women had equitable power and agency. T'Challa was surrounded by influential, powerful, capable, talented women, and talented in a number of ways. And so, with his passing, the opportunity to further the stories of the people around him was just organic. That we would be focused on those who would be most affected by his death, and that would be the women that surrounded him. And so what I love about this storyline is that the female empowerment agenda is organic. It is in the DNA of this story. And we witness a world that does not find that empowerment to be remarkable. It is the expectation. These women are living in their fullest selves. They are thinking more about humanity than about their gender. And how refreshing that is for the world we live in, you know, that what you're capable of should not be based on what gender you ascribe to. There is something very liberating and naturally so about seeing that in such an effortless way as it is portrayed in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.